Fire them up. That's what we do here at the Andrew Gosser Show. We fire them up right here on 1039 WYAB, where we're streaming on Rumble, we're streaming on X, we're streaming on YouTube. No one cares about Facebook, and we're streaming at the mothership that is WYAB.com. WYAB.com, people. So if you can't pick up the 50,000 watt blowtorch of a signal, that is 1039 WYAB. Please like, share, and subscribe to one of the streams. Help us grow the station, help us grow the channel. We'd appreciate that. You can follow me on X, and you're going to want to do that. You're going to see where I'm getting my sources of information from, and you can trust me but verify me. I'd like that. It's just at Andrew Gosser, AndrewGasser. That's where you can follow me on X. And the phone number, if you want to be part of the program today, 601-879-0002. Text line is open at 601-879-5060. I got a lot of texts yesterday during the show, and I didn't get to talk about them. So we're going to make sure that we incorporate some of those texts into the program today. But no matter where we get the news from, whether you text or call, the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. That's right. I planted it, Apollos watered it, but it's God that gave the increase. Well, how are y'all feeling today? Full of energy, full of viv and vigor? Happy to be here, proud to serve? Feeling great? It's dull, it's overcast, Pearl River flood warning. And I have to tell you, I spend time show prepping the day before for today's show every day. But I'll tell you what, sometimes you can do all the show prep in the world, and it is not going to prepare you for what happens when I get into the station at around 7:45, 8 o'clock in the morning to check on all my feeds and news sources. And I was just like, how is this going to be a positive show? Listening to Clay talk about AI cameras, listening to Mike Madison talking about how he just wants to burn down the Republican Party, he no longer wants to convince people to be libertarians. And then, of all places that I'm starting the show today, of all the people, Marjorie Taylor Greene, people, quote tweets Owen Schroyer. And you tell me if what she's saying or quote tweeting isn't right. Republicans run on popular issues and win. MAGA, Save America Act. America First. Republicans get into power and then abandon those promises. She got a point. Give the party back to the neocons and donors. Well, that's happened. And then the party is astonished. They're aghast. Voters stop voting Republican. Republicans then complain the communists are winning in the Democrat primaries as they continue to tax and spend like the communists, which voters don't want them to vote for in the first place. I'll put that on my X account. And that's what is going to be the basis of the show today. It's all about intellectual honesty, people, information, education, and entertainment. We're wrapping it all up into one. The truth of the matter is you can have your conservative ideas and talk about them, but when you get to the dance, if you're not voting for them, just like we have here in the U.S. Senate with the Save America Act, for those of you who don't know, they passed a pretty popular housing bill. To be fair, I haven't read the housing bill because it's so large that it would take me a week just to read it. But if I want to believe ABC News, it's a good bill. And President Trump isn't going to sign it. He's going to let it sit there. Because we can't pass the Save America Act to allow ICE and other government agencies to kick out the people who are here illegally. Illegally, ladies and gentlemen. So yesterday there were primaries around the country and in New York. And we've elected ourselves some jihadis. One of them is videoed and pictured clutching a Hamas headband. You know, the green headband? We got Hamas going to Congress, yo, and don't think they're not gonna win. These Democrat socialists, don't think they're not gonna win. They are going to win. But this is coming from End Wokeness just an hour ago. Always working, always looking out for you. How American-born New Yorkers voted. Como, 40%. This was for the mayoral election, but you'll see why I'm saying this here. 40% plus 9. Mondami only got 31%, and then Silva got 25%. How foreign-born New Yorkers voted. Mondami, 62%. Como, 24%. Silva, 12%. Do you see what's going on here? Well, Andrew, it's just destroying New York. It's just destroying the home of capitalism. Alan Smith doctrine. And I'm getting texts about stuff that I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, my goodness, why are we so focused on things that have so minor influence and consequence when we can't even get together as a nation to pass the Save America Act? Another day, more Mississippi Republicans not talking about it. President Trump is, though. And I've gotten so many Republicans who were MAGA, who are now anti-MAGA. And so my question to you all who are going down this road is so you're saying you wish you would have voted for Kamala? You wish you would have voted Democrat in your primary? Is that what you're saying? Everybody loves punching on Trump because he's holding his line. He's being exactly what he said he was. But all the Republicans who are not holding that line, who are playing both sides rather skillfully, might I add, as a recovering politician. I mean, John Thune is a master of playing both sides. He is so popular in his home state right now. He's rocking and rolling. We don't have the votes. We don't have the votes. You listen to the news, it just makes people get angrier and angrier. Yesterday, I was out in town getting a checkup and, was recognized. Appreciate the person come up to me, and we had a great conversation, a and basically said, "Andy, I turn on the news, I listen to you, and you're positive, but it's just always so negative." And I think that is what AI is really doing. It's pushing the algorithm to make us angry and bitter. New York 13 nominee Darzilla Avila is the founder of Quad, the Oregon state or the organization's stated goal. What is the organization's stated goal? We are Westerners fighting for the total eradication of Western civilization. That is their stated goal. New York 13 Democrat nominee to Congress, 2026. We stand in full solidarity with every movement for liberation in the global South. Our intifada is an internationalist one. We are fighting for nothing less than the liberation of all people. We reject every genocidal eugenist regime that seeks to undermine the personhood of the colonized. As the fascism ingrained in American consciousness becomes ever more explicit and irrefutable, we seek community and instruction from militants of the global South who have been on the front lines of the fight against tyranny and domination, which undergird the imperialist world order. Now, this woman did not say that. She had to write that out. She just didn't pop that off the top of her head. Andy, where'd you get that from? I'll show you where I got it from. You can go right there on my X account and read that. So we are electing people to Congress now, and she's not there yet, but she is the Democrat socialist nominee from the great state of New York who wants intifada. As someone who's been in a war zone, who has seen that up front, you do not want an intifada. You do not want what these people are trying to sell. But there'll be people out there who vote for it thinking that, oh, it's the cool thing to do. Like these attorneys who live action role play and burn down police cars in New York or fool around and find out in Portland. Then all of a sudden, real world consequences start popping in. Well, I didn't think we would do that. Here's another one of her quotes. And I'll clean this up because I don't want the general manager of the radio station to end up getting in trouble or getting me fired. We plan to end policing, full stop, period. No more police at all, ever. It is very harmful to the work of Black abolitionists who have been doing so for decades to dilute this movement. If you're not fully on board, it's fine. Just say that. And then she goes on and says, F you, we're going to defund and abolish the police. You don't get to water down our movements. That sound like somebody who you'd want in Congress? Does that sound like something you'd want representing you as a face of your nation? You thought the Squad was bad? You thought AOC and Elon Omar are bad? Wait till you see this next generation of dudes coming up. Dudes is asexual. It's both male and female, the dudes. You think liberalism is crazy now. You ain't seen nothing yet. You haven't seen nothing yet. And people are sitting here talking about, oh, we're worried. We're worried about the AI cameras. And I get it, and I am too, and I'm going to talk about it. I'm worried about the AI data centers. It's like they got us focusing on stuff that we have no control over, that get us upset and angry, that get us to tune out. I'll be truthful with you. Yesterday, I listened to a Paul Heyman interview for 2 hours with Chris Van Fleet. For those of you who don't know, he is the founder of ECW and now a WWE employee. And he had some quotes. I was going to chop it out. I just got too tired. Couldn't do it. Maybe I'll chop it out for tomorrow. But people are getting so worn down with politics and trying to fix forget fixing the United States, forget fixing Congress or the Senate. We can't even fix our own communities. Everybody's got a smartphone now. I think it's a new human right that you should have Wi-Fi and a smartphone. Here's another brand new Democrat socialist nominee for Congress holding the Hamas headband. And let's listen to what she says. I listened to this once. There wasn't any cursing, but I'll have my finger on the dump button just in case.
And finding that, the system of capitalism and racism and white supremacy, etc., and Islamophobia have all been used, to colonize lands, right, to take resources.
Never mind. She wouldn't be getting any of these rights if she was in any Islamist country right now. You wouldn't have the right to represent anybody. Sure, you might get a cherry position where you're put out there in front of the public. See, we have women, but any real power? Nope. We talked about that.
resources from other people. And so this is like a long trajectory, and we're just seeing the manifestations of that continuation.
Did you hear that? They said the quiet out loud. This is a long trajectory. This has been, people go, oh, this goes back to the 60s. No, 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 no. This goes back to the early 1900s. Can't be having people who have self-worth investing in themselves, building companies, building corporations off the hard work of their own hard work, of the hard work of their employees. Can't be having that.
Right, with 9/11. And so a lot of times when people are asking us to respond about, attack, right?
Because all those people from 9/11 were white males over the age of 30 with high testosterone. And the sad thing is so many of our kids now today either barely remember 9/11 or weren't even born. And they have no idea. It's kind of like Pearl Harbor. It's kind of like forgetting about Pearl Harbor or forgetting about D-Day. Those who forget their history are doomed to repeat it. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back.
How are you a black conservative?
How are you a black Democrat? You mean the same party you say has been helping you for decades, but your communities look worse, not better? You mean the same party that started the Ku Klux Klan and somehow convinced you they're your savior? You mean the same political machine where LBJ, after signing the Civil Rights Act, said they're going to keep these niggas voting for generations? 62 years later, and you're still predictable. They dangled a blackmail president.
And we are back here on the Andrew Gosser Show. Just got sent a banger of a video. Can't play it, man, when you're dropping words like that in there, but I'm actually bookmarked it. We'll play it for the back tomorrow. We're gonna play that back tomorrow. I want to finish this lady who's talking, who's going to be the next Democrat socialist congresswoman from New York. Her name is Aber Kawas. For those of you who don't know, this is Aber Kawas. It gets better. It gets better.
If you look back, like historically, right, a lot of us come from lands that were colonized, lands where wars are being waged, right? A lot of times because of U.S. policy.
Wars were fought long before the United States was around. Colonization was long before the United States was around. And the truth of the matter is we've been completely warped and perverted on what our history actually is and was. And now all of a sudden it's just, oh, America bad. But it gets better.
Here, or the policies in Europe. And so I find that we can connect over that, but then also that the idea that we have to apologize for like a terror attack that like a couple of people did, and then there is no apologies or reparations for genocides and for slavery.
Because those people in the World Trade Center were the reason that your country is an Islamic hellhole that doesn't respect the rights of women. You can't even drive in Saudi Arabia, you witch. You can't even get behind a car in Iran, you witch. You're looked at as a piece of meat in Qatar, you witch. And now you want to bring that here? Look, I know we got problems in America. We do. We've fallen away from God. We've decided that we know what's best for what we're going to do. Heck, I just asked a 15-year-old the other day a simple question over at the Kroger and couldn't give me an answer. We don't pride ourselves anymore on critical thinking, deductive reasoning. That's not what's important. What's important is can you go ahead and ask your favorite AI chatbot a question and have it regurgitate the answer to you? That's what is important. That's what's important. I could go on. My Zorhan Mandami endorsements went 3 for 3 yesterday. I think this is coming from Ground News. Yep. Ground News. Zorhan Mandami went 3 for 3 in endorsements yesterday. People are saying, oh, don't worry about it. It's only New York. It's not going to come here. Oh, it's coming here. Our poor education system. We're supposed to be like the world leaders in education, and we used to be. But now we don't teach on education anymore. We teach on feeling. We teach on feeling, and that's all that matters. Some of you guys are really funny. You're sending me stories on how Denmark is now going to station conscripts in Greenland to stop the American aggression. Conscripts. You know who's using conscripts right now? Russia. In the Ukraine war. That's going to work out real well. The anger is just off the chain. The anger that they're trying to do. And I'm like trying to find off ramps. I'm trying to find off ramps for this. But every time that I look for off ramp, find something positive, it's like the algorithm says, okay, here's something positive. Now here's all these negative things. listen to this. 3 candidates endorsed by Zohran Mamdani in New York Democrat primaries on Tuesday. Brad Ladner defeated sitting Congressman Dan Goldman in the 10th district. Darazila Avla Chevalier beat Representative Adriano Espaillat in the 13th, and Claire Valdez topped Brooklyn's borough president Antonio Roseno in the 7th. Earlier in the day, Politico noted that Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, there's the savior of the United States, had been trying to stave off the march of the Democrat insurgents backed by Mamdani. The effort failed to contain the grassroots mobilization in these solidly Democrat districts. You know, the same thing could be said about the Tea Party movement or the MAGA movement in the Republican districts. Some people call it the Uniparty. And, you know, we have our side waving the red, white, and blue, and you have the other side waving the Hamas headbands. Which one are you going to pick? Listen to these margins of victory. Victory margins illustrate the scale of these upsets. Ladner was leading Goldman by 33 points. Valdez led by 20 points, and Chevalier led by 3.5 points. So 3.5, that's a close race. That's a good race. I mean, obviously you want to win, but 3.5 is kind of small. But 20 points, 33 points, that's bigger than any. Well, no, I think Easel's 22 points. So it's bigger than any Republican margin of victory in Mississippi, pretty or close to it. I think we might have one congressional district that's a little bit more Republican than that. CNN commentator Van Jones described the results as straight-up battle between the establishment and the insurgency. I'm glad that when I was running for office, and we weren't insurgents, we were patriots saying that, hey, we need to control our taxes. We need to bring back American patriotism. We weren't insurgents blowing stuff up like this. The outcome struck a significant blow to the party leadership, including House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries in their New York City stronghold. Look, you want to talk about people who you think that libertarians are bad about being team players? Wait till you see these ladies and this dude that get in there. These districts are solidly Democratic to the nominees and are expected to win the general election easily. The sweep marks a new era for the Democrat Socialist Party politics, positioning the insurgent movement as a powerful political machine. And for those of you who don't think this is a Republican problem or a Mississippi problem, all I got to say is you are putting your head in the sand. And when I sit there and I think about it, like, Andrew, go back to your rules of politics. Control what you can control. Well, that means I got to focus here in Mississippi and build your own army. Well, it's hard getting patriots to get organized on anything because we all have our own ways of doing it. And if it's just not quite the way we want it, we walk away from it. Meanwhile, the enemy gets stronger and stronger. We do a horrible job of declaring victory. And all we seem to be doing is angering our enemy so much that they no longer care and will resort to any means necessary. Woo! Scary times here in America. Scary times here in America. You are tuned into the Andrew Gossett Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Hey, what's going on?
Hello, how you doing there? This is Willie.
Hi, Willie.
I'm in Chicago with my wife, but I was up there yesterday at the hospital, and there was a nurse coming in from Poland, and she was so happy. It was so invigorating to hear someone who she said she's an immigrant, but she came through the right way,
Mm-hmm.
who loves this country.
Yep.
And I'm saying, why is it that she said most immigrants love this country? But it seems like the born and bred Americans are the ones that seem to be against the country. You know, and it's amazing. You know what she said? She and I talked a while. She said this. She said, I want to tell you something that what's happening now is parents they're not teaching their young children about the greatness of this country. Because they don't even teach it in school anymore. She said they need to go to Poland or go to one of these socialist or communist countries and live there a while. She said they'll learn to appreciate this country. I already know this.
Yep.
Why is it that the family's not teaching the children that anymore? You know, but I'm not going to hold you up. I just want to tell you what was going on. I was hoping to get a chance to say it on radio, but that's fine. Yeah, you relay that message. Yes.
I promise I will, Brother Willie.
Okay, you take good care. And my wife, she's just keep praying for her, okay?
I promise I will. I promise I will.
Okay, you take care and God bless you all.
God
okay?
bless you, Brother Willie. Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show, where we will not let you down. Brother Willie called in during the break, was talking about how he was talking to an immigrant and how they said they were so happy to be in the United States, how they appreciated it here. And it was this legal immigrant, might I add, this legal immigrant's opinion is that a lot of these American-born haters don't know what it's like to live in a country like Afghanistan or Iraq or Saudi Arabia. The American, they don't go there. They'll go to Abu Dhabi where it's westernized. And Brother Willie, all I can say is that it's true. We're fighting a war right now, and you have not had any disruption in the flow of your gasoline, your Wendy's, your McDonald's, your Chick-fil-A. You haven't had any shortage in your Wi-Fi or data consumption, your electricity. And Brother Will, we continue to keep you and your wife in our prayers. We really do. We love you. So, first time unknown texter texted me yesterday, and he says, I have two, or she says, I don't know. I have two questions. The first question we're going to save to the next hour. But the second question, you said, what do you think about the president accusing people of vandalizing the reflective pool, which is absurd? Well, when you have slashes and gashes in the reflecting pool, I would say it's not absurd. I would say it's not absurd at all. I do believe that it's just my opinion that with the evidence that I've seen of the reflecting pool, it has been vandalized. If you go to my X account at Andrew Gosser, you'll see where they've actually inscribed 8647 in the reflecting pool. You'll actually see it. Here is Carolyn Levitt, White House press secretary, talking about this. And I want to play this, but then I want to get back to this because I think you bring up a really important and valid point that needs to be discussed. Carolyn Levitt, right, ladies and gentlemen.
The vandalism is very real, despite what Tim Walz wants to say. It's an imaginary problem. No, it is not. It's a very real problem. In fact, I spoke with the National Park Service just before joining the show. They now have 17 police reports that have been filed in just the matter of a few days. There's actually been 6 arrests at the reflecting pool, where, again, these deranged individuals, many of them long time.
Why is it that Democrats muck up everything that's good and holy and just? There have been over 50 national monuments around the United States cleaned up. The Martin Luther King Monument, the Malcolm X Fountain, which was graffitied and not working for over the last 19 years. Trump fixed that. Trump fixed it with his Secretary of the Interior. And people are angry at this. Why are they so angry? I'm not saying you're angry, sir or ma'am. I'm not saying you're angry at all, but there are just this general feeling of anger. And no one's trying to do anything to de-escalate it. But I want to make sure I pass this along because I think it's a valid point that you brought up, and I want to answer it in a valid way.
Donors to the Democrat Party, to Barack Obama, to Act Blue, that have been vandalizing and desecrating our federal monument, one of the most beautiful monuments in the world.
Why hasn't ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, or MS Now reported that? I know Newsmax has. I know One American News has reported it. Why won't the mainstream media report it? Because it doesn't fit their narrative. Now, I've got a picture that shows the quote unquote peeling. This isn't a peeling. This is a slash. And I'm actually a little bit familiar with the system that is used. But here, I want to talk about that a little more. But let's let Caroline finish up.
Reflecting pool. And that's why President Trump is not going to stop with this effort. We're going to not only hold those people accountable, but we're going to fix the pool, continue to make it beautiful from this despicable vandalism just in time to celebrate our nation's 250th birthday next week.
And we need to. But what also needs to happen is we can't let the DOJ fumble this too. Because we just have to be truthful as Republicans. Our DOJ has done an absolutely horrible job of going after these people, actually getting prosecutions going, getting the things done in the legal system. It's just been an absolute mess. And, I realize that there are a lot of liberal judges up there who gum it all up, but then they need to be brought out too. And I've shared that on there. There have been 2 people who have been arrested at the reflection pool with knives, going in there, being observed, attacking the national monument. Why is it just one group of people? It's not racial at all. It's a mentality. There's no respect for public places anymore. We've played the South Africans who are absolutely amazed by our parks outside of our mega metropolises. I would argue that our mega cities, for the most part, are complete heaps of trash, and you wouldn't wanna live there. And I grew up near one in Chicago. I wouldn't wanna live there. Why are people fleeing these mega cities and then going to the suburbia only to screw up suburbia as well? I hope that answers your question as to why, um, the reflecting pool. I wanna make sure I recited this all right. What do you think about the president accusing people of vandalizing the reflective pool? So, I like I said, until the DOJ comes out with formal charges, arrests have been made, I think that there's a real issue there, and I can hear my law enforcement officers talking to me right now, "Andy, you gotta let the process play out. You gotta let the process play out." Well, we've gotta go ahead and start talking about people who are following the rules, who are sick and tired of being told to sit around and wait when the process is rewarding the criminal and not the public who are abiding by the rules and the laws. Again, it's an open trust society, ladies and gentlemen. I talk about it all the time. I talk about it all the time. Like, share. People are in the chat saying like, share, and subscribe. Yeah, please do like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Appreciate that. Dogfish says it's a microcosm of what the far left wants. They do not want America to shine. And it's been interesting to see the reaction of people from Europe, people from Africa, people from South America who are here visiting, who have heard how horrible the United States is, and then them actually coming to experience how awesome our culture is. And, and things that we take for granted every day are really big deals to some of these people. Things like crushed ice in your Coca-Cola. I was watching a video for 5 minutes yesterday on these Germans talking about how awesome it is to have crushed ice everywhere they go. That same token, Germany apparently doesn't like air conditioning. They say that it's bad for the environment. Man, could you imagine Mississippi without air conditioning? How did Mississippi get along without air conditioning just 60 years ago? Were we a lot tougher people then? Were we acclimated differently? Were our bodies different? Have we evolved? There were these girls shopping in Austin, Texas, and they loved how they would walk around in the hot sun and then they'd just go into a store to cool off. And we're sitting here fighting amongst ourselves over silly, silly things. It's tragic. It's really tragic. I got your other question here, brother or sister, and I'll get to that in the next hour because I want to make sure that I spend enough time on that. But in the meantime, oil's at $71, ladies and gentlemen. Just continues to go down. You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show on 1039 WYAB. We'll be right back. While we're in commercial break, I just want to appreciate everybody who's like, shared, and subscribed to the stream. I can see the numbers go up when you guys do that. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate it. And I know it's a little bit different type of radio show than what other people bring, but hey, it is what makes the Andrew Gosser Show so different. I think that's why so many people like it, is because it's not the same old rehashed topics over and over again. I'm going to get back to the commercial break and get ready for this last segment. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.
Majority Leader John Cruz has told you many times he doesn't believe that they have the votes.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 1039 WYAB. We're moving and grooving through the show today. First hour is already almost done. I do want to get to this last story in New York because it just is kind of a microcosm of what this country is up against. Knicks parade attendee who dumped trash on sidewalk identified as JP Morgan Chase DEI executive promptly fired by Ian Miller from Fox News. And I have reposted this lady's picture. This lady decided she was going to make herself and insert herself into the Knicks parade, and she auditioned to be the main character. Unfortunately for her, she got labeled as accessory number 4 in the side credits. But listen to this. On Tuesday night, New York Post reported that a woman had been identified as Angie Baez, a 40-year-old financial industry executive. Seriously, the Post reported identified her on a LinkedIn profile, listing her as an executive director of community and industry engagement for card and connected commerce at JP Morgan and Chase. Her previous job was the executive director of diversity, equity, inclusion. And goes on. The Post then contacted JP Morgan Chase, which confirmed that Baez had been fired. They fired the right woman. This employee is no longer with the company. And I'll repost this story too. You can't make this stuff up. It's not Bo and Luke Duke going around trashing these inner cities. And man, your Knicks finally, you know what? Here's the truth about this too. And I know I'm going to catch a lot of grief for this. but I didn't say it anyways. The Knicks did not win because they were the best basketball team. That the Knicks are absolute trash. The only reason the Knicks won is because they had Danhausen, and they paid the monies to Danhausen. He cursed the Knicks opponents, and they went on a 13-1 run. They were on their way out. Now, clearly, I'm joking, and I'm having a little bit of fun with this, but I'm a Chicago Bulls guy. But greatest basketball team ever to play in my lifetime was 96-97 Bulls team. You can argue that and debate that, but LeBron James couldn't hold Michael Jordan's shoe. And I think that there are a lot of other players that would outdo LeBron. Put Magic in front of him, Bird in front of him, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in front of him. Real leadership. Not this kind where, I'm going to go to Miami and build a super team. I'm going to go to Cleveland and build a super team. Now I'm going to go to LA and build a super team. I'm going to take care of my body and play for longevity and break all these records. But yeah, it's just absolutely classless with what this woman did at the parade. And I mean, New York is billions and billions of dollars in debt. How do they have New York Knicks trash receptacles painted all along the parade route? There's a video here coming from Outkick, but I'm afraid to play it for what might be said. Look, in the next hour, we're going to talk about oil a little bit. We're going to talk about Obama's deal versus Trump's deal with Iran. We're going to talk about all that stuff. We're going to continue to engage the public in this. It's what we've got to do. We can't sit down on our laurels. There's really good things happening out there. You got to search for it and look for it. It's difficult to find sometimes, but it's not impossible. And despite all the gloom and doom that's out there in the mainstream media news, in the local news, there's still things that you can grip onto and latch onto that give you hope, like your faith. That's a big thing for me. We'll be right back on the Andrew Gosser Show. You are cursed.
Social page, he said he canceled it until Congress passes the Save America Act. Trump says compared to the election-related bill, the housing measure is of minor importance. House Speaker Mike Johnson says he anticipates the housing bill will be signed in the next 10 days.
We're going to reduce regulation so builders can build. We're going to limit institutional investing in the housing market. We're going to bring the American dream back within the grasp of hardworking American families. Critical to do. Great policy. The president, when we go through the details of the bill, he's going to understand that it's a good product.
Day after the Senate approved an Iran war powers resolution. This from ABC News contributor and former Defense Department official Mick Mulroy.
The War Powers Act of 1973 requires that Congress authorize anything that continues past 60 days. So this is both a constitutional issue and I think a reflection of how the U.S. views this war in Iran.
A life-threatening heat wave is smothering much of Western and Southern Europe. In London, ABC's James Longman.
Experts warn of a dangerous heat dome looming over continental Europe, trapping hot air and allowing temperatures to build. Spain, Italy and the UK all sweltering. Rome, one of 15 Italian cities under a red warning, the highest weather alert possible. And in London, the changing of the guard has been cancelled for the rest of the week.
Our James Longman in London is part of a federal bribery case. Sources familiar with it tell ABC News the former chief of staff to ex-New York Mayor Eric Adams, Frank Carone, his brother, and two others were arrested today. Carone's case involves allegedly exploiting the city's migrant crisis for profit, according to an indictment. The FBI and NYPD conducted searches today at various locations in the city in an investigation into corruption at the nation's largest police department. You're listening to ABC News.
Man, I love this place. I've been surfing here since I was a kid. Now, seeing my grandson out on the water, It means everything to me. Watching him and taking in the blue waves, the sea breeze, the blurry horizon.
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression and could help preserve your vision for longer, so you may keep seeing the world around you. Izervay, or avacincaptad pegol, is an eye injection. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may cause blood in the white of the eye, blurred vision, or a temporary increase in eye pressure. Do not drive or use machinery until vision has recovered after an eye injection or exam. Ask your retina specialist how you can slow your GA with Izervay. To learn more, call 1-855-IZERVAY or go to izervay.com.
News this hour brought to you by Frederick Sales and Service in Brandon and Skag Zero Turn Mowers and Products. Simply the best.
The woman turned herself in to police. You should be aware that some minor flooding is expected today in Jackson, Byram, and Monticello as the dam is opened up at the Ross Barnett Reservoir to let a bit more water out of the res, which is higher than normal. A flood warning is in effect for the Pearl River at both Jackson and Philadelphia at least through tomorrow, says the Weather Service. Today, it's another 70% chance for showers and storms with a high at 87. The low tonight is 72 with a slight chance for more storms. Thursday, it's a 30% chance for storms with a high at 91, and that clears up for a sunny Friday. You've got news on 103.9 WYAB. I'm Chris Davis. You may remember that last Wednesday, 47-year-old Christopher Scott Dunn was hit and killed while pushing a moped on Maddox Road. Now police say the woman who stayed at first, then took off from the scene, turned herself in. She has been ID'd as Maisha A. Collins. She's being charged with leaving the scene. 11 people have been indicted and are charged in a scheme where taxpayers lost more than $12 million. It's Medicaid fraud, and that involved fraudulent billing, says State Attorney General Lynn Fitch. The indictments were of people from all over the state. Back on December 1st, 2023, 39-year-old Ricardo Perkins had to be forced by his girlfriend out of her daughter's bed and outside while she called police at their home on Fleetwood Drive. It was later confirmed that the girl had been sexually assaulted. Perkins was found guilty this week in that sexual battery case and has been sentenced to life plus 10 years in prison. Gas in Mississippi is back up to $3.49 for a gallon of regular, says Gas Buddy. More news in 1 hour on 103.9 WYAB. I'm Chris Davis.
Why don't you mind your own business?
Mind my own business? What's that supposed to mean?
No, I was just thinking about all the news of tax changes, insurance changes, regulations that are being passed down to business owners. I don't have time to keep growing and to keep up with payroll regulations.
I know. It seems like all I do is handle employee-related problems.
You know, I hear People Lease can help.
How can they help?
People Lease can handle our payroll, taxes, employee benefits, and workers' compensation. They even offer an affordable and customizable 401k program and a 24/7 online human resources support center for all my HR needs.
Think of all the time we'll save. I'll be busy growing my business and letting People Lease take care of the rest.
Sounds like a good business plan with People Lease.
Let People Lease mind your business so you can mind your own business. Call now. 601-987-3025. That's 601-987-3025. Or visit freepayrollquotes.com for your free quote. Antique Mall of the South has 14,000 square feet of pristine, clean floor space. Home to beautiful, timeless antique treasures. Antique Mall of the South is open Monday to Saturday, 10 to 5. Check them out online at antiquemallofthesouth.com or go to the Antique Mall of the South Facebook page. You can also read the dozens of 5-star reviews online. Come see for yourself at Antique Mall of the South in Ridgeland. Now open Monday to Saturday, 10 to 5. That's Antique Mall of the South, Highway 51 in Ridgeland.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are the individual views and opinions of the people expressed.
And we are back for hour number 2 of the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB, where we are streaming on Rumble. We are streaming on X. We're streaming on YouTube. No one cares about Facebook. We're streaming at the mothership that is WYAB.com, ladies and gentlemen. So if you can't pick up the 50,000 watt blowtorch of a signal that is 103.9 WYAB, please help us grow the channel. Help us grow the station. Like, share, and subscribe. Let some people know about the show. We'd appreciate that. Look, if you want to be part of the program today, number 601-879-0002. Text line is open at 601-879-5060. And no matter what's going on, the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. Yep. Gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word incites anger. Getting back to this unknown texter who asked me about whose plan was better, Obama's or Trump's yet. And the truth is, you can say Obama's plan was bad. When you kill the liquidity of every major bank in around Washington, D.C. to fly it on the back of a jet to Iran, that's a bad deal. But to say that Trump's plan was a bad plan, it's not been fully executed yet. It had time to kick in. This is what I will say about Trump's plan in the Middle East, which will anger some people, but they might see it the way that I see it, or they might not. I don't know. But we now understand that the slave labor, the treatment of women in Iran, and all of the underhand deals that have been powering the world for the last 30 years, the oil cartel, that's been exposed. I'm not going to say it's completely broken up yet or gone away, but it's been exposed. Do you know that the country of England, if it were a state, would have less of a GDP than the state of Mississippi? It would be the poorest state in the Union. How can a country like England have so much power around the world? Oh, I know. They get $2 to $3 per barrel of oil that passes through the Straits of Hormuz. They had the English tax. That's all ended. We have seen nothing more than the exposure of what the Green New Deal would really look like. And President Trump is a genius for doing this. Now, I'm not saying that everything has gone perfect to plan. You know, we did lose some F-15Es. 3 of them do a friendly fire shoot down from a Kuwaiti F-A-18. One apparently was taken down by some type of jellyfish drone over Iran. Blew up in my Twitter feed yesterday. I wasn't even going to talk about it, but since we're talking about Trump's Middle East goings on, we might as well talk about that drone. We lost an Apache attack helicopter to a drone attack from Iran, where the drone slammed into the helicopter and it had to put it down in the water. And an unmanned surface vehicle, a boat with no driver, had to go rescue the Apache crew, which I think is kind of incredible. I've said this before on this program, and I will continue to say it again. And I'm looking right into the camera as I say this. America has not ever had a shortage of oil during this whole entire operation. What you're watching is the oil cartel manipulate the fear and whim of the Western world. Because we like our air conditioning. We like our Mexican restaurant that we go to eat to whenever we want. We like going to our outdoor shopping malls whenever we want to go to. There are no long lines for gas. Food might be expensive, but there's no shortage of it. I'm not saying it's all good for you either. I can just hear Rick saying, "Man, the food you buy at Kroger, Walmart, not good." I agree. Even your vegetable isn't what they used to be. Grow your own vegetables. And there are so many problems that this world has, but blaming it all on President Trump for pointing it out and actually doing something about it, I guess that's the big thing that really irritates me as a recovering politician, is that we always want our politicians to do stuff. We want them to do what they say they're going to do. Trump's doing it, and people are upset because they didn't get enough credit for it. And if you want to get biblical worldview, you look at President Trump, look no further than Jehu. Bull in a china shop. It's what President Trump is, and people have a hard time dealing with that. They expect a country club setting in DC where you walk on the really thick carpets and you have quiet conversations off the record where deals get done, where the K Street lobbyists roll in and funnel millions and millions of dollars into things. And that's how Pfizer gets its amnesty. Look, the two things that are going to take President Trump down, there are two things that can do that. One is the Epstein file, and not get it needs to come out there, and even all the non-information. And you know what? If Pam Bondi said things that she shouldn't have said, then that's what needs to happen. But that, and it's Republicans not passing the Save America Act in the Senate. I have to wonder how different this would be if we did have the Save America Act. Maybe we would be complaining about something else. Probably would. We're Americans. We like to talk about stuff. But when our president comes out and says that the Save America Act is the biggest thing to happen this legislative year, well, then that should be President of the Senate, John Thune's, or Leader Thune's primary objective. And it's clearly the main objective in the House because they got it done so quickly. But Trump cancels signing of a bipartisan housing bill demanding voter ID provision. Good. Both of my sons are looking for a new home right now, and they say it's tough. I want interest rates to come down. I want to get the predator buyers out of there, where these Wall Street firms come in and buy up all the single-family homes and then rent them out to illegal aliens at 2 times the price, making the housing market artificially inflated. I like the value of my farm right now. It might hurt the value of my farm if President Trump gets his way, but I'm okay with that. What really gets me is some of these people who will come up to me and talk to me. Yeah, we got to get the Save America Act. Are you willing to go call your senator? Well, I don't have time to call Cindy Hyde-Smith today. I don't have time to shoot Roger Wicker an email. Sometimes I wonder what this world would be like if the Republicans had the same energy and zeal that these crazy Democrats do that are marching up and down Washington, D.C., or in Minnesota, or Portland, or Seattle, or L.A. Could you imagine the world we'd be in if Republicans could do that? Well, Republicans can't do that because we're too busy working. Yes, true. Valid. Noted. We wouldn't have a country if our founding fathers were too busy worried about their own lives to go ahead and try to birth a country. I'm just going to say it. Yeah, I'm getting in trouble for saying it, but I genuinely think that it's got to get so bad in the country before the Republicans actually mobilize like that. It's just my opinion. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, just want to make a comment about the comparison of Obama and Trump's potential deal.
Yep. Hey, real quick, you got 3 minutes though, because then we're up against break.
Okay.
But I don't want to cut.
I'll move quickly.
Yeah.
Quick data point. I'll just use metrics.
Yep.
Obama spent $1.7 billion to seal the deal.
Mm-hmm.
Trump spent about $50 billion in trying to secure a deal. We look at capital expenditures, then we look at human expenditures. We've lost 13, 14 soldiers, airmen. We lost aircraft. Our bases are damaged, and he is still in negotiations for a deal. So if you look at it right now, from metrics, Obama's deal was better because he didn't lose any human capital. He gave them some assets, $1.7 billion, but nobody died. Gas prices, the world's economy wasn't in a stranglehold. So if you look at it from metrics, the guy that with all the wisdom was Obama. The guy that was fooled apparently was Donald Trump. It's all biblical. When you don't have wisdom and you don't submit to the word, you can't have wisdom because you're too prideful. And unfortunately, Donald Trump is too prideful, and that's what leads to destruction. Have a good day, sir.
Hey, Brother John, I always appreciate you calling. And I say you've got a bit of truth in there. Pride before the fall, biblical wisdom. You know, President Obama had to be reminded that this was a Christian nation, not an Islamic nation. Remember that? But this is what I'd also say. And man, I got to try to fit this all in. Maybe just go a little long to respond because John brings up some good points. President Obama did spend $1.6 billion. That's equals to about 30 pieces of silver in my book. President Obama didn't do anything about the slave trade in Iran and Iraq, the human trafficking of girls in Iran and Iraq. The state sponsor of worldwide terrorism is Iran. All of that's cut off now. And I genuinely believe that there are people who have different types of a view than me on this. I truly get it because no one wants to fight. And this goes back not just, in the 2020s or 2010s or even the 1980s or 90s. This goes back to World War II and the United Nations, where we started making these rules of war, where we started saying, as long as we got ours, as long as I got mine, just like Eric says, it's called extortion to the mob. It is. And my heart grieves for the 13 people that we lost, especially that KC-135 accident, man, that hits. I'm always an airman, and I don't think enough people realize or appreciate the risk that our air crews get in, our sailors when they hop on a boat. They're taking a risk that 99% of America won't. We are an all volunteer force. Dogfish says it's contorting the Bible for political posturing is not a wise choice. And that's why I call President Trump a Jehu, because Jehu was very, I won't call him boastful, but he got the job done. He took God's call and he went with it. And if we're being truthful, look, I'm not bashing my president. He is my president. But sometimes President Trump could be a little bit better with the choice of words that he uses. It's just the truth. Gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word incites anger. And the truth is we're in a microwave society where we want instant gratification. I swipe my credit card, I get my Twinkie. I swipe my credit card, I get my gas. And again, I would also argue that Operation Mockingbird, if I get mocked for this all the time, but I don't care. If you don't believe in Operation Mockingbird, look no further than today. And how angry we all are, and how we're pitting Americans against Americans, putting our own interests against each other to help some people around the world who only want us dead. That's just my opinion. I know it might not be yours, but this is the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Yeah, man, Twinkies for the win. Or the red zingers. Remember the red coconut zingers? Those were awesome. That was such a great deal. Why was the dome, why was it done on the cover of darkness when only way to find out was after the fact? That's a good point, Eric. I'll bring that up. And the one thing I would say, two things about the Trump administration. They know how to keep a secret. And they're getting rid of a lot of the deep state leakers inside the Pentagon and our intelligence agencies. I know that for a fact. But the other thing is we know how to promote ourselves too. And Trump is a promoter. All right, we're going to go to commercial real quick here.
Compact tractors. Sail in soon. Stop by your local dealer or go to gokubota.com.
Visit Davini Equipment in Madison and Jackson or at DaviniEquipment.com.
Your roof is constantly exposed to the elements, battling dirt, algae, and stains. But with Watkins Construction and Roofing Roof Wash Service, you can keep it looking like new. A proprietary rooficide treatment is EPA approved, safe, and guaranteed to prevent algae from coming back for at least 2 years. No harsh chemicals, no damage, no black streaks. Just a clean, beautiful roof that lasts. Call Watkins Construction and Roofing at 601-966-8233 or visit nomoreroofstains.com today.
Fraud is everywhere these days. The good news, there are simple steps that you can take to help stay safe. AARP Mississippi is hosting free fraud prevention events to help protect yourself, like free shred events that let you safely dispose of sensitive documents, and free fraud prevention workshops in person and online. Register for a free fraud prevention event at www.aarp.org/ms.
Need equipment that works as hard as you do? Come see me, Noah Sullivan, at H&H Chief Sales in Carthage. Thousands of you have already made the short drive to see us at H&H for the state's best deals on CM truck beds, Big Tex trailers, Wells Fargo enclosed trailers, and even rugged Candy electric utility vehicles. At H&H, our equipment is built for the farm, job site, hunting camp, or anywhere around your property. So visit me, Noah Sullivan, at H&H Chief Sales on Highway 35 North in Carthage, or online anytime at hhchiefsales.com.
Here is what real customers have to say about Roder's Plumbing Service.
This is Leah. I wanted to tell people what a wonderful job Roder's Plumbing did for me recently. I called, Chris Roder answered the phone. He had somebody out in no time. They fixed me real fast. I couldn't believe they came out here like that. That's all I can say.
Plumbing problems? You need Roder's Plumbing. Visit rodersplumbing.com today.
Dr. Mike Stonington here from Stonington Farm Grass-Fed Beef. Here in South Mississippi on Stonington Farm, our steers are grass-fed and grass-finished. No grain, no hormones, no antibiotics, no mRNA vaccines. Our grass-fed and grass-finished beef is straight from our farm to your table. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and at StoningtonFarm.com. That's StoningtonFarm.com with 2 N's. And we deliver every 4 weeks to the Jackson area. We are the grass-fed.
I think it might be brother. Yeah, welcome back to the Andrew Gossett Show on 103.9 WYAB. Yeah, people kind of upset that President Trump didn't get everything that he wanted in his deal. He wrote the book, The Art of the Deal. Yeah, people who've never made deals that big are judging that deal. Eric brought up a good point. Obama's deal was such a great deal. Why was it done in the cover of darkness? Why did we only find out about it after the fact? And it was leaked. Remember, it wasn't even supposed to be leaked. Why was it done in the cover of darkness? And the only reason it was leaked is because all of a sudden banks all in and around Virginia, Maryland, and West Virginia, and DC were out of cash. And the only reason it was leaked is because all of a sudden, but that just seems to be around Virginia, Maryland, and West Virginia, how the world works these days. Look, I have this video from last week because I was really worried about the Democrat Socialist movement in New York. Works these days. Look, I have this video from last week because I was really worried. Far be it from me to talk about the Democrats in New York, but Harry Enton actually has a very interesting poll out, and it goes to show you just where we are as a country. And if you think that patriotism is a popular thing right now, if you think that capitalism is a popular thing right now, you would be mistaken.
When we talk about democratic socialists, how are they viewed inside the Democratic Party?
Yeah, you mentioned New York, you mentioned Vermont. Obviously, there's the D.C. mayor. We've seen it in Pennsylvania as well. The Democratic Socialists seem to be doing considerably better than they used to be, and they have the chance to knock off, in fact, Democratic incumbents in Congress. And part of the reason for that, why we're seeing these Democratic Socialists having such good chances or outright winning nominations, is take a look here. Net favorability among Dems. Democratic Socialists of America, look at that. a plus 17-point net favorability rating among Democrats. That is actually better.
I would argue that this is partially due to our education system as well. We don't make the kids stand up and recite the Pledge of Allegiance every day. We don't teach our history anymore. We don't talk about the silent hand of economics. We don't talk about civics anymore. We've educated a bunch of kids who just think that they turn on their phone every day. They charge it. I mean, some kids are so lazy they don't even charge their phones. It's ridiculous, but I digress.
That is better than how congressional Democrats are viewed by Democrats at just plus 4 points. So no wonder that Democratic Socialists.
Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. The Democrat Socialists have a higher approval rating inside the Democrat Party than the Democrats themselves. The Nancy Pelosi's, the Chuck Schumers. They want the Ilhan Omars. They want the AOCs. Could the same thing be said about Republican Party with the MAGA movement or the Tea Party types? We want the Save America Act. We want, well, I think everybody except the politicians want the Epstein files released. That's just my opinion, though.
Socialists have such a good chance because, simply put, they are a better brand at this point than Democrats in Congress.
Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. Harry Enton is placating the survival of the free world on marketing and branding. Well, the branding of Christianity is horrible, but the branding of Islam is great. That's why so many kids are converting to it. Or is it because we're not educating our kids in what got us here in the first place? This is the same analogy I use over and over again. You take your girl to the prom, and then you drop her off at the door and gonna go dance with the prom queen. Not good, not good.
Among Democrats, it's interesting to see who they like more. All right, and you've used this number before. I always find this fascinating. When you compare socialism to capitalism, how are they doing right now?
Yeah.
Before we answer this, let's just make sure that it's because of capitalism you two both are wearing really nice suits. Well, you're both wearing nice suits. One's got a tie, one doesn't. Capitalism built the free world. Capitalism built New York. Capitalism built Chicago, DC. That's what it used. Conscription, that's what built Abu Dhabi and Dubai. Slave labor, that's what built Oman and Qatar. I hate to say it like that, but it is what it is. Expatriates, expats.
How are they doing right now among Democrats? You see this Democratic Socialist America more positive than congressional Democrats. And I'll tell you, take a look at the trend line, the favorable rating among Democrats on socialism. And look at this. In 2010,
it's funny that CNN blots out the word capitalism in that spot.
They were about equal. 50% had a favorable view of socialism. 51% said the same about capitalism. But capitalism has absolutely fallen through the floor. Look at this. It's now just 42% of Democrats who have a favorable view.
Is that because everybody wants to be a social media influencer and make money off the clicks and the dopamine hits instead of people who are plumbers and electricians, policemen, firefighters, paramedics, doctors? It's so much easier to be an influencer. You wake up, you see what the news is, you comment on it. You don't have any sweat equity into it per se. Eric's chiming in. The socialist democratic mainstream media shows us what they want us to see, including which part of the Democrat Party they want us to believe that people want. Yeah, it all goes back to Operation Mockingbird and what they put in front of you. But it's not even what they put in front of you, Brother Eric, or Brother Dogfish, or Brother Junk, or even Brother John. It's not what they put in front of you. It's what they put in front of our kids. And they just let that poison sink in when it's at 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. And then just let it run out to its natural conclusion at 18, 19, 20. Where all of a sudden kids who would have never needed SSRIs and emotional pharmacological drugs to control their thoughts are now all of a sudden becoming dependent upon it. They're becoming dependent on these pharmaceuticals to go ahead and, get through life. And they all of a sudden now thinking that LARPing around at these protests is more important than actually going out and having a job.
of capitalism. Socialism, on the other hand, up like a rocket. Look at this. 2 in 3 Democrats have a favorable view of socialism. So socialism is our
Stalin and Lenin would be smiling so big right now if they were alive, seeing that socialism is approved by 66% of Democrats in America. Nikita Khrushchev said that America would fall from the inside. This is exactly what Nikita Khrushchev was talking about. What's really sad is that so many of our young kids today don't even know who Nikita Khrushchev is.
on the rise among Democrats. Capitalism is on the decline among Democrats. And again, this is part of the longer term trend in which we are seeing Democratic socialists doing considerably better among Democrats, electing a mayor right here in New York City, for example.
And that's the craziest part about it, is that nowhere has any city been more positively influenced than New York City with capitalism, Wall Street, the stock exchange. I mean, I've gone to New York several times. I haven't gone since 2014, I think was the last time I was there. But there was just so many small businesses, capitalism was thriving. New York was growing. Now the trash doesn't get picked up. The call to prayers blasted through walls or through the Times Square. I mean, the square is not the square anymore.
And as we said, there are primaries next week with Democratic Socialists, self-proclaimed.
And I did say that this was from last week. I just didn't get to it, but I felt that it was relevant today, so that's why we're playing it.
On the ballot, what are the prediction markets saying about how they may do?
Yeah, this to me is one of the more stunning trends, right?
So was Harry Enton right, or was he wrong?
That I have seen in covering politics over the last 15, 16 years. And if you believe the prediction markets, it's not going to just stop suddenly. It may extend into next week, because just take a look at the chance that Democratic Socialists win in Dem primaries, House primaries here in New York. You go to New York 7th District, right? You got a Brooklyn Borough president who at this point looks like an underdog compared to a Democratic Socialist. And then you may get a Democratic incumbent in Northern Manhattan get knocked off. That's closer to a 50-50 race. But the bottom line is this. Next week in New York may be a very good one for Democratic Socialists. Mayor.
See how happy CNN is about this? They just sit there and mold the population into what they want. And you and I, most people listening to this realize that this is a bad deal. But to everybody who's just casually watching politics, the people who are working really hard, don't really pay attention to politics, they're like, oh, and they just casually go along with the flow. It's a scary, scary time to be in America right now, or in the world for that matter. We're the city on the hill. We're the lighthouse on the edge of the ocean, the beacon of hope and light. We've got it so much better than everybody else, but yet we can't seem to grasp that concept. You are listening to the Andrew Gossett Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. And we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. You know, it's Kubota Orange Days now through June 30th, coming to the end of June already. Where has the time gone? It's just screaming by. Now is this is the last week to really take advantage of Kubota Orange Days and get that 0% financing on that tractor you've been eyeing up, whether that be the new zero-turn lawnmower you've been looking at. Man, even if you're looking at a skid steer or excavator, Kubota's got the tools for the job. It's got that right high-performance equipment, no matter whether it's a big job on a small farm, 30 acres, or a big farm, 150, 160, 200, 500 acres. Kubota's got everything you need. They've been in Mississippi for over 50 years. Devani's knowledgeable team is committed to helping you find the right equipment with dependable service and support. 2 locations, Madison, Highway 51 near Gluckstadt, and Jackson, Spring Ridge Road, south of I-20. That's where I go. DiviniEquipment.com, DiviniEquipment.com, ladies and gentlemen. Just want to say thank you so much to Divini Equipment for supporting the show and WYAB. We're getting back to it. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? This has more things going on than is the headline would seem. Alphabet added to Dow Jones Industrial Average, replacing Verizon. Replacing Verizon, ladies and gentlemen. On June 29th, Alphabet will join the Dow Jones Industrial Average, replacing Verizon Communications and becoming the 6th most influential component at $346.13 per share. But they're getting rid of Verizon. What is Verizon? A communications company. Verizon used to have great service. I don't know if they do anymore. I haven't seen too many Verizon commercials. But Alphabet is getting bigger and bigger. It's getting stronger and stronger. They've already got 90% of the worldwide search engine traffic. They've got the top browser. They've got YouTube. They've got their AI programming going. Their AI technology is actually quite scary. Remember, this is the same technology that made George Washington black when AI could produce pictures. But we're supposed to trust them. Google accounts for approximately, that's what I said, 90% of the global internet search traffic, affording Alphabet significant pricing power. The company's cloud infrastructure segment has re-accelerated sales growth following generative artificial intelligence integration. Long story short, they've got one of these supercomputers that is just completely blowing past everything. And Wall Street, capitalism, is betting on Alphabet to do great things, whether it be Google, YouTube, or whoever. I think it's scary that you're having telecommunications companies being removed from the Dow Jones, and they're being replaced with artificial intelligence companies, which is what Google ultimately is, in my opinion. Could you imagine what would happen if YouTube went down? That happened like 6 months ago. YouTube went down worldwide, and there was mass pandemonium. I had to switch over to Rumble for a little bit, which wasn't bad. Rumble's good. It's a great alternative, but it doesn't have the users. It doesn't have the buy-in that Alphabet and YouTube have. You know, Facebook Meta is not on there. It just makes you wonder, what is Dow Jones going to lose and what are they going to add? Will Tesla and SpaceX ultimately end up on the Dow Jones? And everybody's pointing to me. I did get a lot of messages saying, hey, SpaceX is falling. Yep, it's called taking profits. That's how it works. Elon Musk created more millionaires in a day than most companies ever will in their lifetimes of being a company. I'd also say that gold is down, silver's down, platinum's down. This is a market in the whole, acting and moving as one. So I just thought that was really interesting. Verizon being silly. I've got some local stories too. I want to get to. Jackson's got a food desert, Jackson, Mississippi, and hopefully this WAPT story the video doesn't go live. I don't want it to. Large portions of Jackson have been considered food deserts for years. When I first moved to Mississippi, I wanted to build an aquaponics farm inside Jackson. I did, and it was met with much resistance, leaving many residents with limited access to fresh fruits, vegetables, and other healthy food options. Now, city leaders are partnering with Mississippi's largest urban farm in an effort to improve food access. Good. That's great. We need more kids out there farming and less time being YouTube creators. Now, if they're vlogging their farm exploits, I think that's great additional stream of income. The agreement comes at no cost to the cities and focuses on creating new opportunities to address the food industry across Jackson. To me, this is just kind of like fool's gold a little bit. It's like that one company that says that they're bringing in $1 billion investments into Jackson, but they don't really have a real game plan. They have a website that's not really developed. It's just typical Jackson stuff. For years, neighborhoods in south and west of Jackson have fewer options for buying fresh food. Well, it's not just in Jackson, it's in all major urban communities. And we've documented that, whether it be the Walgreens in Chicago, the CVS in San Francisco, the Krogers that are leaving the inner cities. For years, city leaders said the partnership could help change that by causing vacant land for community gardens and expanding access to locally grown produce. Well, I support that. Take down a lot of these abandoned, decrepit, dangerous old properties, turn it into farmland, and start growing vegetables, fruits and vegetables. That'd be a great thing. That was one local story that I had. I had one more. Oh, this is what it was. And I didn't get a chance to talk about this yesterday. Remember there was that assistant principal who was fired for reading a crazy book and read a book to school day? And the school board rightfully fired him for reading inappropriate material, and then the appellate court reinstated him. Well, Mississippi Supreme Court declines to hear the appeal in an assistant principal firing case. Yeah, that's the name of the book. I Need a New Butt. That was the name of the book. And of course, Google crashes, but we're back. Hinds County, Mississippi. The Mississippi Supreme Court has declined to hear an appeal from the Hinds County School District in a case involving an assistant principal who was fired after reading a children's book to his second grade class. I challenge everybody in the sound of my voice to go ahead and read the book, A New Butt, and see if it's suitable for second graders. However, the Mississippi Court of Appeals later reversed the school board decision and the Chancery Court's decision by ruling that the district did not present sufficient evidence to justify Price's termination. So, long story short, is you can be an LGBTQ freak and read stuff to kids that most parents, not all parents, but most parents wouldn't want read to their second grader. And you've got to put up with it. Your public education at work. I get in trouble all the time for saying the kings and queens who wear black. Black robes, ladies and gentlemen, black robes. They get in their courtroom and they are the king or queen of their domain. And we're a high trust society. We're supposed to trust the judges. And then things like this happen. The appeals court ordered that that Price be reinstated and awarded back pay. This is a continuing trend. And ladies and gentlemen, stuff like this is just going to continue to happen. And I know it's tough. I know that I had one person text me and saying that they're a little bit upset that I continue to encourage people to run for office, to go do that kind of stuff. But that's the only way this is going to change. That or the complete economic and total collapse of the United States of America, one of the two. I'd rather go out trying to fight and change things to make things better for the community than to go ahead and sit there and lie down and take crazy rulings like this. How sad in Mississippi. We're supposed to be a conservative state, and we can't even keep things like this out of our children's classrooms. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back.
Start living better. Live Better Men's Health. Online at livebettermen.com.
Hi, Kim Wade here. Are you craving a home-cooked meal without the hassle? Come over to McBee's Bar and Grill in Ridgeland for their Blue Plate lunch specials. Served up every weekday, at McBee's it's a different entree every day. Chicken spaghetti on Mondays, beef tip Tuesday, pork chop Wednesday, spaghetti Thursday, and catfish Fridays. And McBee's Blue Plate lunch comes with 2 classic southern sides and cornbread or a roll. McBee's specials are served every weekday from 11 to 2. McBee's, buzzing the res since 1982.
Looking to elevate your ride? Weston Automotive and Rick's Pro Truck have you covered. From rugged bumpers to sleek step bars, Weston's top-notch accessories will transform your truck into a head turner. And at Rick's Pro Truck, we specialize in custom installations that bring your vision to life. Visit us today for expert advice and unbeatable deals. Weston Automotive and Rick's Pro Truck, where your truck's potential comes alive. Weston and RPT. Trucks live here.
Metal Builder Supply in Pearl provides quality commercial and residential metal roofing, pre-engineered steel buildings, mini storage facilities, pole barns, and steel components with old-time service and competitive prices. Through our commitment, experience, and expertise, Metal Builder Supply has established a business relationship with our customers that will last a lifetime. When you need metal roofing, reflective insulation, trim, or metal decking, contact Metal Builder Supply online at metalbuildersupplypearl.com.
This is Jack Hoffman. For nearly 31 years, Tico's Steakhouse has been a staple of fine dining in Jackson, Mississippi. Dad has long since desired for me to come work alongside him. And now that I'm here, I would like to invite you to come experience our family tradition of our hospitality, sizzling steaks, and healthy poured beverages. Our dining rooms are open and we are taking reservations. Our private rooms are also available along with takeout. Call today or stop in and experience Tico's in the second generation.
Tico's Steakhouse, East County Line Road in Ridgeland, 601-956-1030.
Hi, Kim Wade here. Hot weather requires us to run the AC nonstop. Pure Air Consultants can inspect your unit today to ensure your AC is operating at peak performance. Pure Air Consultants is your go-to Rheem partner that can get the job done and have you resting in comfort in no time. Locally owned and operated, they have proudly served our community for over 22 years. Contact Pure Air Consultants today at mypureairconsultants.com. Rheem and Pure Air Consultants to the rescue.
Hey, Rankin County, swing by the locally owned and award-winning 042 Wine and Spirits on Highway 80 next to Sonny's Barbecue in Brandon today. We've got one of the largest selections around with over 200 bourbons and whiskeys to ignite your taste buds, more than 50 vodkas, 50-plus tequilas, 30-plus rums, and ready-to-drink cocktails, as well as premium scotches. And get this, we've got over 400 wines in stock for the perfect pairing anytime. Discover your new favorites today at 042 Wine and Spirits right next to Sonny's Barbecue, Highway 80, Cross Gates, Brandon.
And we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Lots of opinions on the Democrats, Socialists, and the Tea Party and MAGA movement. Some people are trying to compare them. And I can see why some people would try to compare them, but they're completely different. You don't see the MAGA grandma burning down a city, but you do see the Democrat Socialists going ahead and being trained observers and blowing whistles in law enforcement's ear. You don't see that on the MAGA or Tea Party side. And maybe it's because I'm 54 and I just see things a little bit differently. And the older we are, maybe we're given a little bit more wisdom. But we don't care who votes in our elections. We're not worried about the rule of law in America. But we want this fair housing, affordable housing bill passed and signed. I'm telling you what, there's just so much being slammed in here. And in the persistence, Scott Pressler writes, please tell your boss the way you, Leader Thune, felt when President Trump canceled the signing of on the Road to Housing Act is the way the American people feel every single day that the United States Senate doesn't prioritize and pass the Save America Act peacefully. Scott Pressler, the persistence. And that's the best way to put it right there. Scott Pressler has a great point. You can pass all this other crap, but until you get the Save America Act passed, nothing else matters to us. You can sit there and make all the pomp and stance ceremonies, do all the things. You can't get this piece of legislation passed, then perhaps you don't need to be the leader anymore. Primary John Thune is still available, people. PrimaryJohnThune.com, PrimaryJohnThune.org, .net. They're all available. It's out there. Text today, chat today was lit. I really greatly appreciate you all doing that. I want to get to a couple more of these. Hold on a second here. I want to get to a couple more of these. The food deserts in the city of Jackson is caused by shoplifting. The actions of persons living there cause this, but they're not yelling racism, but they're out there yelling racism. That is true. It does seem that we have food deserts in places where the crime is high. And again, we're a capitalistic society. People who grow food, who raise animals for food, they do so in the hopes of making money. That's how the system works. And if we're in areas that aren't making money, then we have to ask ourselves, why is that the case? Why is that the case? People asking me to retweet the Scott Pressler post. I'll do that. Look, ladies and gentlemen, this country used to be a great country. I believe it still is a great country, but we got problems. We've got real problems that need to be sat down and talked about. And we have to sit there and realize that there's a side that wants to rip America down and a side that wants to rip America or build America up. I came into today's show wanting to build America up a lot, but man almighty, the algorithm just came in like a ton of bricks. And I didn't even get to my former friend, well, he's still my friend, Joe Walsh, the former congressman, who's sitting there just going on these tirades about the Tea Party and MAGA causing all these problems. Joe, did you sell your soul? I can remember being at your house with your wife and dogs and plotting great strategy. What happened, man? Take care, everybody. We'll be back in about 22 hours. And until then, be blessed. Yes, and amen. Amen, ladies and gentlemen.